Hello, Ann Arbor City Council. My name is Paul Steen. I'm grateful for the chance to talk to you today. I'm coming to you from North Main at the new center and the offices of the Huron River Watershed Council. And today I get a chance to talk to you a little bit about the Huron River Watershed Council's recent work in Ann Arbor. And this little short presentation is going to be talking specifically about Ann Arbor creeks and rivers, our waterways, and some recommendations from a watershed perspective on some of the things that we should be working on. So a little background about the Huron River Watershed Council. We are an organization that's existed since 1965. We're Michigan's oldest watershed group, and our mission is listed here. We desire to protect and restore the Huron River and its associated creeks for healthy and vibrant communities. We are a nonprofit organization. We have 14 paid staff, and we rely on hundreds of volunteers each year to help us power our work, because it's the kind of thing that we can't do by ourselves. Ann Arbor sits right about in the middle of the Huron River watershed, as you can see on our map here. And but the watershed's quite large, and it covers pieces of Oakland and Livingston County, more than half of Washtenaw County, and then before it gets quite small and goes down to Lake Erie through Wayne County. Today we're going to talk Ann Arbor centric. Now, the Huron River, in my opinion, my unbiased opinion, right, is one of the highlights of living in Ann Arbor. It's a natural feature that runs right through the middle of the city. And I don't know if you ever thought about this, but if you look at a map, in the city boundaries, Huron River is surrounded by city parks and city natural areas pretty much from as soon as you get into Ann Arbor till you get out of Ann Arbor. The Huron River has parks and natural areas along it, listed here. So it's just really amazing, and it's great to see that Ann Arbor has historically recognized the Huron River as a very important resource. You know, provides fun things for residents to do most of the year. And it provides important services for residents of Ann Arbor. Residents may not realize they rely on the Huron River every single day. It provides our drinking water. We need the Huron River for sewage treatment and disposal. The Huron River creeks are essential for conveyance of stormwater. Without these creeks, we would, after it rained, we would have flooded basements, and our streets and our basements would start to crumble. So this is a very important service that these Ann Arbor creeks and the Huron River provide to the city. This little shot up here in the corner, that's part of Miller's Creek after a storm, and you can see it's set in a natural area here, but it does drain our streets for us. But it's also important to remember that though these creeks provide human services, they're also natural systems. They are places where fish and insects and birds and turtles and frogs all live. So it's important that we be good stewards of these resources, take care of them for our future generations and the future generations of the other organisms that rely on them. They are living ecosystems. So today is how HRWC has been working on a watershed management plan for this area. We got a grant in 2018. We wrapped it up in 2020, and now have an approved watershed management plan approved by both Michigan's Eagle and the US EPA. This watershed management plan covers this whole map that you see here. And then I drew on the boundaries of the city of Ann Arbor. So you can see that nearly except for a little bit on the west side, nearly the entire city of Ann Arbor is included in this watershed management plan. So the conclusions from this watershed management plan are very pertinent to us here. Why do we do these plans? Well, remember I said we can't do everything by ourselves. Either the city or the county or the Huron River Watershed Council can't do all of this by ourselves. We need each other. So these plans are a chance to coordinate our efforts, look at the problems going on in these systems and thinking about solutions, and then being able to have them on paper so that we're able to work on these solutions together. Both federal and state grant dollars a lot of time depend on a watershed management plan being in place. Without these watershed management plans, you can't get those dollars. So having one of these in place is very important for keeping the work moving and continually making improvements. The plan is done. You can pause this video and type in the link I have here if you're interested in seeing the different pieces. But this video, I'm gonna just go over some of the very broad highlights so you're generally aware of what the plan includes. The beginning of a watershed management plan is all about compiling all the known facts of the systems that we're talking about here. So HRWC and the county and the city and the state do a lot of water testing, both biological and chemistry and physical. So we do testing of nutrients and bacteria such as E. coli, erosion. We look at fish, insects, the habitat, the water flow. So the first part of the watershed management plan is just breaking all of that down into the different creeks and seeing what those parameters are. With all that in place, what you're able to do is identify problem areas where things are not as good as they should be. The state has a series of designated uses that all the public waters of the state need to meet. Well, it depends on the public water. Some of these designated uses apply and some of them don't. But I have them all listed for you here. On the map, what you see are the streams and the rivers where some of those designated uses are not being met, and those streams are considered to have impairments. So for the rest of this presentation, I'm just going to kind of show you what these impairments are and then the recommendations to start addressing those impairments with the long-term goal of being able to remove those impairments and getting these public waters back to full use. In the watershed management plan for this area, our highest priority lies on Swift Run, Mallett's Creek, and Miller's Creek, which are all creeks in Ann Arbor. And they have these impairments that you can see listed here. For the summer months, it's impaired for total body contact recreation because of E. coli contamination. And then the remainder of the year, we still desire to have partial body contact recreation, like we can paddle it and fish in it. But these creeks are also impaired for E. coli for that. Total body contact is swimming. Now these streams are also impaired because of flow changes and erosion and sedimentation. They're also impaired for aquatic life and wildlife. So too much degraded habitat because of flow changes in these creeks, most of which come about because of our rainwater. These are these are rainwater conveyance streams, and that has interrupted some of the designated uses that we would desire for these streams. In this picture here, this is actually Swift Run. You can see this big sandbar that has developed on the side of the creek. And this is all deposits from erosion upstream. So there's a lot of erosion on the banks, and that's washing the sand downstream, and it clogs up habitat and degrades the overall quality of the stream. So what do we do to address this particular issue? You know, it's all about the stormwater. I know that Ann Arbor and the county have been working on this tirelessly for a long time, and our recommendation in the future is that dealing with our stormwater in responsible ways continues to be the #1 priority to improve the health of the creeks in Ann Arbor. So we need to continue working on projects that slow down the stormwater, cause stormwater to infiltrate into the ground, or even treat it through natural methods. Just continue work on the Green Streets program is very important. That gives water a chance to go through natural areas before it goes down the sewer, or the storm sewer. Ann Arbor's got a lot of detention ponds that slow down the water. You know, that's just a piece of infrastructure that continues to need improvement and study, because some of these detention ponds continue to just get older and older and fill up with sediment. So it just needs constant maintenance, which I know we're doing, but it's good to be reminded that those are not just ponds out there, but they fulfill this specific use for improving our environment. A couple summers ago, HRWC did a bank survey of all of these banks, which is what this map is, and all these dots represent survey points that we did. And anywhere in red, these are areas where we have noticed high erosion along the banks. So we have all this stuff mapped now. And what we can use this map for is to direct specific construction projects to stabilize these banks and reduce erosion. So that's something that we have a list of. We shared it with city staff, and now we can work on these projects to improve the bank erosion through these areas. Another designated use that has been impaired in recent years is due to PFAS. So we have, I think it was 2018, the state found high levels of PFAS, which is a carcinogen, in our fish throughout the whole Huron River system. The Department of Health issued a fish consumption advisory saying that people should no longer be eating fish from the Huron River, which is sad because for many people it's both recreation and it's a food source. So going forward in the future, HRWC would love to see improvement in the PFAS levels in our fish. This is largely a state issue because it's a lot of regulation and holding people to clean up legacy pollution, which, as you know, is a really difficult thing to do. But HRWC is able to contribute somewhat, both in targeted monitoring and helping Eagle when they simply can't get it all done. We have some projects coming down the pipe for doing some monitoring of fish and helping understand PFAS levels, and just continued public education on this issue, because we don't want people catching and eating fish because they may not be aware that this is happening. So that's HRWC's kind of support of Eagle, but ultimately we're reliant on the state to find these pollution sources and continue to remove PFAS from the system. Now, downstream of us, in the Ypsilanti area, there's two large lakes, Ford and Belleville Lake, our downstream neighbors. And the picture here with the boat in the green water, that's an algae bloom This is a regular problem on Ford and Belleville lakes. There's a lot of phosphorus that comes from upstream areas, including Ann Arbor, going down to these lakes and causing these algae blooms. So the state has Ann Arbor and upstream of us, like into Dexter and Chelsea. All of this area is under what's called the total maximum daily load for phosphorus. So there's a certain amount of phosphorus that's allowed to come in at a daily level, with the goal of keeping those levels low so the phosphorus doesn't collect in Ford and Belleville lakes. So this is all about being a good neighbor. It's recognizing that what we're doing here is affecting our downstream friends. And it's a big task. Reducing as much phosphorus as we can just needs to be a continued effort. And a lot of that can be done through some of the things I already talked about, like with Miller and mallets. Reducing sedimentation would reduce phosphorus going downstream. There's other things that we can continue to do to improve our water quality and also improve the level of phosphorus is going down to Ford and Belleville lakes, which are listed here. I talked about some of them already, but one thing that I can highlight is pet waste education and enforcement. Just continuing working on getting our pet owners to pick up their pet waste, because when it rains, all of that bacteria and phosphorus from the pet waste will enter the storm sewers and go down the Huron River. We are now, for many years now, we're under a phosphorus fertilizer ban. However, it's still pretty easy to get phosphorus fertilizer because it has some uses for, like, when you first start a lawn. So homeowners can still get it and they can still use it regularly if they really want to, even though it's illegal. So help from the city on enforcement of this fertilizer law, or if this fertilizer law would be great. And then, as I mentioned before, but this is just a really important one, just continued work on our detention ponds, evaluating them, maintaining them, fixing them where needed, so that these pieces of infrastructure work as well as they can. So that's all from me. Thank you from HRWC, the City of Ann Arbor, the staff, the council has been a great partner for us over the years. We're very grateful for all you do, for the way you think about the environment in your work. We appreciate that, and we enjoy living here and working in Ann Arbor. If you have any questions about any of this, feel free to email me directly, and my email's written right there, and I'll get back to you as quick as I can. Appreciate you watching this video. Hope you guys all have a good day.